Welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod, CEO Wisdom Pod with Peter Voss, AI edition. Peter was on the pod once. We discussed AGI, we discussed AI, and we're going to do a round two today because I felt that we only scratched the surface last time we spoke. This podcast is brought to you by podfire.com. If you want to start and scale your own monetizable podcasts, and we do that the unconventional way here. We bring you a bunch of guests via cold email. We also get you on a bunch of pods, and we can help you do that at scale with your podcast and get paid while you're having fun interviewing cool people like Peter. Podfire.com for that. Peter, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you've been up to in the last couple of 6 months.
Well, I've been working both on commercial AI and also on developing AGI. So that's really been the path that I've been on for the last 15 or so years. On the one hand, developing the technology and commercializing it so that, we can already benefit from this. But then on the other hand, to try and continually increase the IQ of the system so that we can get closer and closer to human level, functionality, which I think will be tremendous for humanity.
How would you summarize 2023 in terms of the highlights that happened on this planet Earth, i.e., the war between Israel and Hamas, for example? And how would you summarize the highlights of what has been accomplished in the world of AI last year?
Well, I'm not sure how deeply I want to delve into political things, but I think the one thing I do feel very strongly about is that there's a lack of intelligence, a lack of rational thinking that basically causes these problems. And if people just thought rationally about it, and if there was more focus on individual freedom and rights rather than group rights, I think that would solve a lot of problems. But as long as people dig in their heels and basically just have irrational beliefs that drive things, that's a big problem. And I actually do believe very strongly that developing AGI will actually help us overcome that, because humans aren't inherently very good at rational thought. We are very much driven by emotional instincts, and we want to retaliate and so on, rather than thinking through what good solutions are. And I believe once we have true human level AI, and we each have our own personal assistant that can be like an angel on our shoulder. So before we make a decision, to go to war or to retaliate or to, get involved in a business that may be shady or whatever, we can discuss it. We will discuss it with our AI helper, and it will maybe highlight some of the consequences of making this decision or that decision. Will help us to think things through more rationally, because a lot of things that we later regret or that are immoral, that are bad for us and for humanity, are because we didn't give them enough thought, and we acted emotionally and with inadequate knowledge. I always cite 9/11 as a good example of that. There are kind of three problems there. The one is you just react emotionally. You want to do something, you want to get back at somebody. The second thing is, the second thing is you often do that with an inadequate knowledge. Weapons of mass destruction. Well, yes, are they really there? And then the third thing is, as I said, that rationality is really an evolutionary afterthought. We are not very good at it to really think through, well, if we take this course of action, is that actually likely? If we bomb Iraq and go into Afghanistan, is that actually likely to solve our problems? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. So I think AI will help us a lot. Well, I spoke a lot more about the sort of political situation. on the AI side, of course, this last year has been just totally dominated by Chat GPT and related technology, large language models. And I mean, it's been explosive. It's been absolutely explosive. The enhancements that have happened, the variations of that, image generation, even video generation, quite phenomenal. Now, my own view is that this is actually a sideshow. As important and as impressive as it is, it's not actually going to lead. I don't believe it's likely to lead to human level, human-like intelligence that we ultimately want, or called AGI.
Why do you think so?
Well, in fact, the letters GPT already give you a good clue to that. G stands for generative. They make up stuff, which is both good and bad. You know, they can be creative, they can help promote ideas and so on. But the problem is they make up stuff from this vast database or a vast set of knowledge that they were trained on, which is good, bad, and ugly. You know, it's just anything that's out there on the internet, and they basically try to make up stuff, and this is where hallucinations come from, and it's really inherent in the approach. And I mean, I'll say GPT, generative. The second problem is, in fact, the second letter, P, pre-trained. They are pre-trained, you know, costs $100 million or more to train these big models, and they are then essentially read-only after that. After they've been trained, they cannot learn new knowledge. That's a huge problem. And the third letter, you know, transformers, T, is the core technology behind this. And there are variations of that, but it's still the same, that basically use what's called backpropagation or gradient descent, which inherently, from a technology point of view, locks in this pre-training that you cannot really you cannot teach them new things on the fly. So that's a huge problem. I mean, imagine hiring a human secretary that comes in and say, well, I can do Excel, I can do Word, I can do this, that, and the other. I can do a whole lot of things. And then you tell them, okay, we have a new partnership. We dropped this product line, and I'm going on vacation next week, and a couple of things. And next day they come in and they don't remember any of that. That's not very intelligent. Now, they try to circumvent that or overcome these problems with external databases and things like that. But the core problem remains is that the model that is trained does not change. It cannot learn. It cannot improve its knowledge without retraining. So that's why I believe that it's not the path to the kind of fluid, adaptive intelligence that we need, and the metacognition that it can think about what it's actually, its own thought process. That's also missing on there. So I believe what we need is a cognitive AI approach that starts from the point of view of what does intelligence require. What's the kind of intelligence we're looking for, rather than saying, hey, what do we have? We have a lot of data, we have a lot of computing power, what can we do with it? And that's kind of where we are in the mainstream AI.
And who would build that new / more scalable model if not OpenAI?
Well, in fact, they are probably extremely unlikely to build it. It's much more likely to come from, a different lab, a different company. I mean, we hope it'll be our company that can make that breakthrough. But the problem is the big companies are so committed to the transformer technology. They're now building custom hardware to implement transformers and speed them up. And the people they hire, the experts, the leadership, all have that expertise. They basically have expertise in statistics, mathematics, and areas like that, as opposed to coming from a cognitive psychology point of view and understanding intelligence. So, but we've seen this many, many times. I mean, who would have ever thought that little upstart Google could dominate in search when they started, or a little upstart Amazon, that they could ever compete with the likes of Walmart. I mean, we see that when there's a paradigm shift required, a new way of thinking that that's really a breakthrough of innovation. It's usually not the large established companies that tend to pull that off. So there are a few relatively small efforts working on cognitive AI approaches or cognitive architectures, but that's not getting a lot of love right now because investors and when people talk about AI, the only thing they really know is statistical, big data, deep learning type of AI. So it requires some foresight and education for people to really understand, appreciate the benefits of a cognitive AI approach.
And if it would be your company, how would you achieve that? And how can you compete with the likes of Sam Altman that seems to be very well positioned to create the largest and the most important startup of our times?
Well, as I just said, it's history really teaches us that breakthroughs usually don't happen in large companies. Ongoing. They do one breakthrough and then that's kind of the thing they run with. So as I say, I think it's unlikely that they would change direction so dramatically to embrace cognitive AI. Now, how would we do it? Now, currently, our company only has about 10 people working on AGI development. We're not going to get to AGI very soon with only 10 people working on it. So, we're looking to scale up our team. We need about 100 people that we've got very clear work to increase the IQ to get to human level intelligence. We have the basic design, the infrastructure that's already been commercially proven very, very successfully, but we basically need to develop it further to get to human level. So my estimate is that we need about 100 people working on this for 2 years or so to really get to the breakthrough. This would not be the full AGI, but it would be sort of very demonstrably an approach that doesn't hallucinate, doesn't require big data, can learn on the fly, and can really learn and reason by itself. So it can operate autonomously and it can be adaptive in real time. And we believe we can achieve that in 2 years or so, given the additional resources.
Because if we look at Sam and OpenAI, it seems that he reunited a team of superstar. That's one. Two, he's pretty much a god when it comes to product market fit, understanding what the market wants. Three, he has an incredible network, right? He's been head of YC, which is literally the incubator to the best startups and companies in this modern world. The first step, how can you do you agree with all these steps, by the way, of why the inception of OpenAI came and why they were so successful? And two, if you would start with the first step of reuniting the best minds in the world, how would you do that?
Well, the best minds in what? The best
In
minds
AI, in cognitive AI that you're building.
Yeah. So the best minds in cognitive AI are not the people working for OpenAI, as far as I know. So there are a few people that I would very definitely want to work with, that have very good insights and experience in that field. And but it's again, I need to have enough momentum and enough to be able to offer them to collaborate, work together, or join an effort. And I'm definitely working on that path. So that's that is really important. But sheer size and being able to hire the best minds in statistical AI does not really guarantee success. I mean, look at DeepMind. Now, there's a company that virtually had a blank check for this, had it for almost 10 years now, and they've made basically no progress in AGI, in spite of having, I think, 600 or something PhD level AI research and, some of the best minds. And, they've certainly achieved some important AI milestones, absolutely, but they've made basically no progress on AGI. If you listen to Shane Legg, who's the head of their AGI research, he basically has no real ideas on how to get to AGI, in spite of almost 10 years and many billions of dollars that have been plowed into it. So if you're not pointing in the right direction, it doesn't matter how much money you throw at something, you're not going to achieve the objective.
And how do you get pointed in the right direction? Because so how did the inception of cognitive AI idea came to you? And why do you think DeepMind, with more budget, more talent, and everything, or OpenAI, matter of fact, why do you think they wouldn't be copying your idea and scaling it faster?
Well, first of all, we talk such different language. So in terms of, I've published papers of why don't we have AGI yet and how we can get to AI. But if you're coming from a statistical AI approach, big data approach, people look at that and they can't even make sense of it. It's so foreign. It's like reading something in a foreign language. So it's very easy for them to dismiss it. And and people quite are very quick to say, well, where's their $1 billion funding, or where's this? People are kind of snobbish in that regard. Quite often, if you're not already rich and well known, then it's easy to be dismissed. But how did I get to that? Well, I took what seemed to me the obvious way, but not a simple way. Before I started in working on AGI, I actually took off 5 years to study intelligence, all different aspects of intelligence, starting even with philosophy, epistemology, theory of knowledge. How do we know anything? What is reality? What is our relationship to reality? How can we be certain of things? So really deeply understanding what human cognition is. How does it differ from animal cognition? How do children learn? What are all the approaches in AI that have been taken? But my starting point was really deeply understanding what is so special about human intelligence. And, and one of the couple of kind of key conclusions I came to is how important it is to understand concept formation, basically the ability to do abstractions, to think abstractly, and to be able to do that in real time. So that's really the cognitive AI approach. You start with understanding intelligence, whereas I say the main thrust of the field of AI right now is to say, hey, we've got a lot of data, we've got a lot of computing power, we've got some neat algorithms, and we can do a lot of stuff with that and make a lot of money. And true. But it's not addressing the issue of what human-like intelligence really requires. Because having a lot of knowledge, having a lot of data is not at all the same as having a high IQ or high level of intelligence.
I'm reading your paper, well, one of them, and it's really well put. Concepts is all you need, a more direct path to AGI. And I'm at the graph in which you indicate that an AGI would be after PhD, which is interesting because, in my opinion, PhD is like so incomplete. It's done in an academic context, and it's more theory than practice. What do you have to say about the current educational system, academia, and the real world, and applying knowledge in this real world?
I don't, I'm not an academic. I don't have an academic background, but I look at despair, with despair at what's happening in educational systems. Certainly, that basically all the focus is on saying the right things and hiring the right people by those standards, and not about truth and knowledge and really learning things. So I don't really have more to say about academia, but an AGI, once you have a simple AGI, and by simple AGI I mean simple in the sense that it may not have a lot of knowledge, but it has the core ability to acquire knowledge, to to learn, like a smart 10-year-old or 12-year-old or something, where you can actually learn by yourself given the right motivation. That's the kind of AGI you have. And once you have that, it can, so to speak, hit the books, and it can learn and integrate all the knowledge that it needs to do. So imagine having one just taking one AGI, proto AGI, or seed AGI, and it learns about cancer research. It becomes basically competent at the level of a PhD level cancer researcher. You can now make 1 million copies of that, or however many you want, and you have 1 million PhD level cancer researchers chipping away at the problem and being able to communicate with each other, with each other, and share information and insights much more rapidly than humans can, and without egos getting in the way. So I mean, we will have tremendous advances in all of the sciences, whether it's nanotechnology, anti-aging research, pollution, making better batteries. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to, for AGI to be able to benefit humanity, in addition to the thing I mentioned earlier, where you have your personal assistant that can help you make decisions that are just better for your life and better for community.
Yeah, two things where I'm getting at with this. Like, first, I feel that as a human being, I wasn't really born until I got to practice my craft in this market, in my case, as a businessman. School sort of brought me back in so many regards, the current educational system. And talking about that in academia, I think that's really perverse. And that's why I like OpenAI and the fact that they're constantly testing out in this real world. And obviously, some people don't like that they take their data, not for granted, but just they train and play with that data. But I feel, yeah, if we would have these academics act more and test out more in this real market with commercial application and with capitalism as a backend, I think we'd probably progress faster. And then the question is, like me, I'm very much of a digital avatar. I've been working the last decade plus online. Even when I was a kid, I would play video games. My craft, my practice, my actions are made in this computer, in this digital realm. And AI can do that, but it seems that there's also tons of wisdom in this non-analog world, running in the mountains, getting biochemistry in me is where I get these insights, So for AGI, do we need like a physical avatar? Do we need to try to reproduce what we've been doing with humans? Do we need biochemistry? Or can we create some kind of alien form of intelligence that would be resembling our current intelligence, but without the same means and the same systems and the same pathways?
Yeah, these are very, very interesting questions. So I think you started talking about that you need practical experience. You can't just learn from books, and that you really, when you started practicing your craft, that is absolutely true. And AI, whatever field it works in, needs to be able to actually learn by interacting. And we actually see that in our commercial application. We're currently commercializing our system as a chatbot with a brain. And for example, one of our big customers is the 1-800-Flowers group of companies. That's Harry and David and so on. So we give customer service, and this we can initially train the system for what it what it needs to do with all the business rules and being able to remember customers' preferences and so on. But when you actually start having conversations with customers and learning the dynamic on how they interact with an AI, it certainly needs to adjust the way it actually interacts with humans. So having that practical experience is definitely something important. Now, in terms of biochemistry, an AI is very, very different. It doesn't have, there's no reason to design it with sort of the reptile brain that we have, which obviously evolution designed us first and foremost to survive and reproduce. That's really what's driving a lot of our actions. Now, an AI will not have that, but will have much more control, or it will have much more control over its own thought processes. So, for example, when I, like a lot of other people, get good ideas in the shower. I may be working hard at my computer, designing something or writing code or whatever for hours, and then I get up and take a shower, and suddenly I get a new insight, or I take a walk, or as you say, you might go running or whatever. Now, an AI will be able to, on demand, basically go into a different mode of thinking, basically say, concentrate less and relax more, and let the sort of the general context find new associations and that. So in AI, one can get it into that state of mind, if you want to call it that, pretty much on command. I think some people are probably already better at that, in terms of being able to get into a certain state of mind to be more productive. So no, it won't need a body or biochemistry as such to be able to get into flow states or creative states and things like that.
When can we expect immortality? Talking about surviving, when can we expect post-mortality? And when can we expect the first sparks of AGI, which in my opinion, we've seen with Chat GPT and yours, it's not scalable. When can we expect these two things?
Well, yeah, sparks of AGI, of course. The Chat GPT is phenomenal. It took everybody by surprise, and certainly one sees those sparks of intelligence in working with it. So when will we see real AGI? I always answer that question. To me, it's not a matter of time so much as it's a matter of dollars. Basically, how soon are we going to get some serious effort on the right path to AGI, on cognitive AI, or at least a different path than GPT, transformer backpropagation type of approaches. And once we see some serious effort going into that, with at least a couple of teams working on that with decent resources, I think we can have AGI within a few short years. I think there's not a hardware limitation that I can see, and in fact, ChatGPT kind of gives us a good idea of how much you can actually achieve with current hardware. So I don't think hardware is going to be a serious bottleneck. Once we have AGI, then very rapidly we can start working on problems like aging and disease. Now, I don't, I'm not a fan of using the word immortality because it kind of implies that you can't die. So to me, it's really more indefinite lifespans. If humans have the option to live as long as they want to live, that to me is the goal. I think it's a real pity that often people, just when they get to a point where they get a good handle on life, on how to live life, how to interact, how to be a decent human being, and how to have some wisdom, and they die. Decline cognitively and die. I kind of jokingly say, just after a few marriages and raising a few kids and a few bankruptcies, you're starting to get a handle on how to live life, and then you die. So I think be much better if once we get wisdom, if people then still had the zest for life, for living more, but also have the wisdom and the experience, I think that'd be tremendous. But we need AGI to solve those very, very difficult problems of aging and disease.
I do agree. Once we have AGI, I don't think it'll be hard to achieve immortality itself. If we mean this consciousness of ours, it's very much artificial, right? Like if we think of us human beings constantly being wired to survive, then consciousness is just another branch of that, another tool that Mother Nature, whatever you want to call it, has pushed upon us to think that we're special, to think that we're intelligent, and to think that we have a soul or something. And I do think that's implantable in pretty much another body. What do you think about that? And what do you think consciousness is all about?
Yes, and I've written about that on I have articles on medium.com. So an AI with an AGI will inherently be conscious. It'll have to be conscious. It'll have to be aware of itself as an agent acting in the world, and has to be aware of its own thought processes and goals and things like that. So it will have self-awareness. The sort of qualia, how it experiences its self-awareness, of course, will be totally different from humans, because for us it's heartbeat and emotions, our body, we sense our body and whether it tenses up, and how our vision system works. All of that, of course, plays into our experience of consciousness. But in terms of self-awareness, yes, these agents must be aware of their own existence, their own agency, and their own thought processes. Now, I don't know if you were sort of alluding, in terms of immortality of uploading or transferring our meat brain into an AI brain. Yeah, that's kind of a difficult question of how feasible that is, and how much of who we are will be retained, or how dramatically we would actually change by sort of transferring who we are into silicon. But it's certainly an interesting thought. We obviously change during life anyway, very much as to who we are. So how much would an individual change when they transfer to silicon, is assuming that is possible without sort of really very dramatically changing who you are.
Granted all that we've discussed today, the social changes, consciousness, AGI, immortality, what would be your top priorities for this year? What do you want to execute to potentially advance on all of these topics we mentioned?
Oh, that's very simple. Our commercial side of the business is working well. We have a tremendous product that we can, offer great service to essentially mainly call centers that we focused on. So there we're just looking for more customers to work with, to benefit from our technology and provide better service to their customers and save a lot of money. And I say better service because the right kind of technology like ours, a chatbot with a brain, can, in many instances, in most instances, provide better service than human call center operators actually do, because of lack of training, wait times, and being transferred between them to different departments. All of that you can eliminate with that. So that's on the commercial side. We're really just looking for more customers. But my main focus is now has shifted, because our commercial side is really up and running pretty well. My main focus is now shifted really back to the core technology of AGI to get us to human level AI as soon as possible. And our gating factor right now is really funding. We need we need more money than we have available through myself and our current investors. So we're looking to raise some additional money so that we can in fact scale up our development group from, roughly 10 people to 100.
Very cool. Where can people find out more about you, Peter?
Very easy. Peter at aigo.ai, aigo.ai. Obviously, you can find me on LinkedIn and Twitter, and our website has some information, of course, as well. So yeah, look forward to meeting our people who want to either use our technology to replace call center operators, or to work with us to make AGI happen, either as collaborators. And I'd love to really brainstorm the best path. I'm sure we don't have all the best ideas yet. I'm sure there are lots of people who could contribute. We could contribute to their efforts, or vice versa. So really anybody, whether it's working with us, collaborating with us, or funding to make AGI happen for the benefit of mankind.